When Lance was 20, he was dating this girl. They had been dating for nearly a year. She was into parties, more so than Lance. She liked to go, liked to flirt. She liked getting drunk on the weekends. If Lance said he wanted to stay in, she would pout and tell him he'll make her happy if he went. So he did. He slowly stopped hanging out with his own friends and started hanging out with hers. He started cutting classes because she wanted to hang out with him. He stopped going to home to see his family as often. She didn't like his video games, his friends, his hobbies. She didn't listen to his hopes, his dreams, his fears. They had good times, they had fun. They laughed and enjoyed the time they spent together. But after a while, Lance began to realize that he wasn't happy. She seemed happy. She liked how they were, what they did. She liked their relationship, and he realized he didn't. It was then that he learned that sometimes the same things don't make everyone happy. Keith woke up tangled in the sheets alone. He stared at the empty spot next to him, where the sheet had been tossed aside and remained crumpled, pillow indented with the shadow of the person who had slept there throughout the night. Disoriented, mind muddled with sleep, and mouth feeling incredibly dry, he reached out a hand into the empty space. There was the faint, lingering warmth. Maybe it was Lance leaving that had woken him up then. He sighed, rolling onto his back and running his hand through his hair. He didn't really blame Lance. How could he? They might have spent an admittedly amazing night together, but that's just what it is. A night. A hookup. Something you do and then let go. Something that already slots itself into memory as the sun rises. A story to tell later. A brief moment of pleasure to enjoy the present, only to have it slip away and dissolve in the daylight like fog. He didn't know what he was expecting. He wasn't expecting more, really. He hadn't known what he was getting into. All he had wanted was a momentary distraction, and he had gotten it. Couldn't bring himself to regret it, not really. That didn't stop the twisting in his gut and the rolling of his stomach when he thought of Lance. He blamed the beer. He was so deep in his spiral of self-pity, one arm flung over his face to drown out the day, that he didn't quite register the smell of coffee saturating the room. Not until the toilet flush, startling him out of his internal moping. He lifted his arm, propping himself up on an elbow, blinking with eyed surprise as Lance stepped out of the bathroom, wearing nothing but his boxers. He was humming softly to himself, face relaxed in contentment, but when his eyes landed on Keith, his whole expression brightened. "Morning," he grinned, stepping up to a small shelf above the mini fridge, pulling a mug and lifting up the French press. "Coffee?" Keith nodded dumbly. "You're still here." Lance stared, after pouring one cup, slowly turning to look at him over his shoulder, face carefully unreadable. "Did you want me to go?" Didn't hesitate. "No." Lance's smile was back, body slumping as he relaxed. "Cool. Ending your coffee?" "No, I'd take it black." Lance shook out, lip curled slightly. "Gross." "Figures. First beer, now black coffee? Do you like anything sweet?" He handed Keith a mug more, before pouring milk and sugar into his own. Keith shrugged, sipping carefully to avoid burning himself. "I don't know how to use those things," he said, nodding toward the French press. Lance glanced at it, eyebrows raised, then he chuckled softly. "Yeah, neither did I when I first got here. But you learn pretty quick." He slipped back into his spot on the bed, sitting up against the headboard and pulling the sheets back over his legs. Keith sat up next to him. They stared at each other, and Keith was hesitant to admit the matching grins on their faces. "How'd you sleep?" "As soon as I laid down, it was lights out." "How'd you feel?" Lance shifted a little. "Sore, but satisfied." Keith ducked his head to hide his grin. Their mugs found their way into the nightstand. Two of them slipped further down into the sheets as they talked. If you asked Keith later, he would have been able to tell you what they talked about, but he would be able to recall the warm feeling of contentment. His hands roamed over Len's body, fingertips reverently mapping skin, finding dips and bumps, memorizing the lines. The night before, mind clouded in a haze of beer, and lost it obscured by his own desperation. He had thought Lan's skin was flawless. Now, he found He was wrong. There were plenty of imperfections. The tiny bumps and scares, gone white and faded with age. The freckles and moles that dotted his flesh. The discolorations caused from one thing to another. They only proved to make Lance more perfect. As he explored Lance explored him. Long, slender fingers roamed his torso and his arms, up his neck and down his thighs. They pointed out of each other's imperfections, their marks, the things that stood out against their skin. They took turns telling stories, revealing and sharing the past that made them who they were, making them more real. The whole time they lay close, legs intertwined, foreheads touching as their eyes are downcast at them. Their coffee sat half empty, cooled rapidly and forgotten. They existed in their own bubble of space and time, undisturbed by anything else, unable to be touched by the outside world. That is, until there was a knock on the door. Keith? Shiro called, knocking again, a little more insistent. Keith definitely yelled, standing up straight and wiping his bed to stare at the door in horror. It was locked. Thank God, but it could only deter Shiro for so long. Keith? Are you awake? Open up! Frick. Keith? Lance said softly, eyebrow raised in question. Keith looked at him, beautiful and perfect, in his bed, and he imagined Shiro's reaction to seeing such a sight, and nope. Hide! Keith hissed, pulling the blankets off Lance's body and shoving him hard, pushing him cleanly off the bed and onto the floor on the side of the opposite door. Lance let out a muffled yell as he went down. Don't let him see you, he added hastily as he practically threw himself out of the bed, running his hand through his hair. He looked around hastily, eyes landing on all the incriminating evidence. He scrambled around the room, tossed in the loop and condoms into a drawer, and kicked Lance close to a pile of his own before grabbing a hoodie and pulling it on to hide any marks that Lance had made. He schooled his features into something grumpy and passive, and has opened a door. He schooled his features into something grumpy and impassive as he opened the door, glaring up at his brother. What? Shiro was already dressed, shaved and bright red, like he's been up for hours. His lips were curled into a small, amused smile. Morning, you too, Keith sighed, leaning against the door frame. What do you want, Shiro? He crossed his arms over his chest. I just wanted to tell you that we're gonna drive the bike course in about an hour. He nodded. Alright, thanks. I'll be ready. Shiro quirked an eyebrow, looking him over with searching eyes. Keith tried not to fidget and held his gaze steady. Shiro looked past him. Into what? He could see of his hotel room. He was already hoped he couldn't see Lance. He watched Shiro's expression carefully, looking for any signs, but finding none. Finally, his brother looked back to him. I was going to ask if you needed help using the French press, but it looks like you figured it out. Keith scratched the back of his neck. Yeah, I googled it. Showed it. Cool. He took a hesitant step backward, eyeing Keith. So, I'll see you in an hour? Yeah. Don't be late. Okay, Mom. Shiro snorted, waving it off as he stepped away. Keith shut the door, leaning against it and tilting his head back against the wood. He closed his eyes, bringing a sigh of relief. Grand me already? Keith's eyes snapped open. Lance was still sitting on the floor, but his arms were crossed and resting on the side of the bed, chin resting on top of them, as he gazed steady at him. He was smiling, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. There was something uncertain there, worried, and Keith didn't like the look of it. It didn't suit him. Keith snorted, pushing off the door and striding back into the room. Not in the slightest. He threw himself back on the bed, putting a hand behind his head to prop it up. I just don't want to deal with Shiro's teasing. He's relentless. The shadows disappeared from his eyes as he laughed, pushing himself up onto the bed. Fair enough. Look at Keith, head to the smile outside. So, I should go, I guess. Keith shrugs, butterflies fluttering in his stomach as he said, with as much nonchalance as he could. I still got an hour. Lance smiled, curled a little more as he tilted his head down, gazing up at Keith through his lashes. Moments became slow and languid as he slinked across the bed on all fours, like a predator stalking his prey. I think I can think of a few ways to kill time. Keith tried to hold a straight face. Is that right? Yeah. Lance breathed, hovering over him, lips so close but not quite touching. He ached at distance. Show me. Despite the bitter edge of coffee, Lance tasted.